The body camera captured everything. When Officer Jason Morales approached the silver sedan illegally parked in the fire lane outside Kim's Market on Westminster Street, he expected a routine traffic stop. What he got instead was a 20-year-old woman holding up a police captain's badge, like a diplomatic passport. "You can't ticket me," Samantha Blake announced, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who had never faced real consequences. "This is my father's badge." The polished metal shield caught the morning sunlight as she waited for recognition, for deference, for the immediate retreat she had apparently come to expect. Captain Robert Blake's daughter had learned a dangerous lesson somewhere along the way. That borrowed authority could erase personal responsibility. Officer Morales remained calm, his training evident in every measured word. "Miss Blake, that badge belongs to a police captain. It doesn't belong to you. Please place your hands on the steering wheel." "My dad's a captain, Robert Blake. He runs traffic division." She paused, letting the name settle. "One phone call and this citation disappears." It was a threat, wrapped in casual certainty, the kind that suggested this wasn't her first time invoking her father's position. Officer Morales issued the citation anyway. 3 weeks later, Samantha Blake would stand in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, about to learn that some shields don't extend to family members. Judge Frank Caprio had presided over Providence Municipal Court for decades, earning a reputation for compassion, tempered with unwavering fairness. He set down his pen and looked at the young woman standing before him, her expensive attorney beside her, her posture suggesting she still believed connections would prevail over consequences. "Miss Blake," Judge Caprio began, his tone neither harsh nor indulgent. "This court does not operate on borrowed rank. That badge your father carries represents years of service, sacrifice, and an oath to uphold the law. It doesn't grant immunity to his relatives." The clerk rose to read the charges, stopping in a marked fire lane, refusing to provide identification, displaying law enforcement credentials not issued to her, and verbal intimidation of a police officer. Each charge carried weight. Together, they painted a disturbing picture of entitlement in action. Martin Chung, the defense attorney in his tailored gray suit, stood immediately. "Your Honor, we're prepared to pay all applicable fines and resolve this matter efficiently." Judge Caprio's response was swift. "Mr. Chang, this court is not a payment portal where people with means can simply purchase their way past accountability. We will review the evidence thoroughly. Please sit down." The attorney hesitated, clearly unaccustomed to such a direct dismissal, then slowly resumed his seat. Judge Caprio flipped through the case file, his expression growing more serious with each page. "There's a notation here about a prior incident. Miss Blake, 8 months ago you received a parking citation at Providence College for blocking an emergency vehicle lane on campus. That citation was subsequently withdrawn after intervention by campus security." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "Do you recall that incident?" Samantha shrugged with practiced indifference. "Campus security overreacted. My father knows people there. It was handled." "Handled," Judge Caprio repeated, letting the word hang in the air. "Handled means your father's connections made the problem disappear. What you learned, Miss Blake, was that consequences vanish when you invoke his position. That's not accountability. That's avoidance." The judge made a notation on the record. "This prior incident will be entered as pattern context, demonstrating a history of behavior. Now, walk me through what happened on November 13th. Samantha's account was dismissive, almost bored. "I stopped in front of Kim's Market for literally 2 minutes to grab a coffee. There was a fire lane marking, but nobody was actively using it." The officer made it into this huge production over nothing. "Fire lanes don't operate on timers, Miss Blake," Judge Caprio responded, his patience evident but wearing thin. "They exist for emergency vehicle access. The fact that no fire truck happened to arrive during your illegal parking doesn't make your action legal. It makes you lucky. But your parking wasn't victimless. Mr. Harold Kim, the shop owner, will speak to what your 2 minutes actually cost. Officer Jason Morales took the stand, raising his right hand for the oath. His testimony was precise, professional, devoid of emotion or editorializing, exactly what one would expect from a trained law enforcement officer. On November 13th at approximately 11:17 a.m., I observed a silver sedan parked in a clearly marked fire lane in front of Kim's Market. The vehicle appeared unoccupied. At 11:19, the driver exited the store carrying a coffee cup. When I approached and informed her of the violation, she initially stated it had only been 2 minutes. I explained that fire lanes are designated for emergency access regardless of duration and requested her driver's license and vehicle registration. Officer Morales paused, his jaw tightening slightly, the only visible sign of the discomfort that followed. Instead of providing her identification, Miss Blake reached into her purse and produced a police captain's shield. She stated, "You can't ticket me. This is my father's badge." I informed her the badge didn't belong to her and had no bearing on the traffic violation. "And then?" Judge Caprio prompted. She said, "Write the ticket. I'll have you walking school crossings by next week." The courtroom fell silent. Even Martin Chang, the defense attorney, seemed to absorb the weight of those words. "Officer Morales," Judge Caprio said quietly, "did you interpret that statement as a threat to your career?" "Yes, Your Honor. A direct threat of retaliatory reassignment based on her father's command position. She was threatening to use his authority to punish me for doing my job." Judge Caprio turned to the clerk. "Play the body camera audio, just the relevant exchange." Through the courtroom speakers, Samantha's voice emerged, sharp, dismissive, dripping with entitled contempt. "Write it. I'll have you walking school crossings." The judge let the silence stretch, allowing the words to resonate. "Miss Blake, did you make that statement?" "I was frustrated," she replied. Her tone suggesting this explained everything. "Frustration doesn't authorize threats," Judge Caprio said firmly. "You threatened a police officer's livelihood for enforcing the law. That's not annoyance. That's intimidation." The clerk consulted her log at Judge Caprio's request. "Your Honor, there were 3 separate contacts to this court regarding this case prior to today's hearing. 2 phone calls and 1 voicemail, all originating from a number registered to Captain Robert Blake's office at the Providence Police Department." Martin Chang shot to his feet. "Your Honor, my client cannot be held responsible for actions taken by her father's office without her knowledge or consent. This is prejudicial information." "Overruled," Judge Caprio said calmly. "Transparency protects everyone, Mr. Chang. When any office, police, political, or otherwise attempts to influence judicial proceedings, that attempt becomes part of the public record. The voicemail will be played." A male voice filled the courtroom, professional and carefully controlled. "This message is from Captain Blake's office regarding case number 2025 TR619. The captain requests that this matter be resolved quietly and efficiently before proceeding to a public hearing. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience." Judge Caprio made a note. First call at 9:41 a.m. the day after the citation. Second call at 11:58. Voicemail left at 12:23 p.m. Someone moved very quickly to contain the situation. "Is Mr. Harold Kim available?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor. By phone." The shop owner's voice came through clear and measured. "Your Honor, I own Kim's Market. That fire lane isn't a convenience. It's critical infrastructure. On November 13th, a vehicle blocked it for approximately 15 minutes. My delivery driver couldn't access the loading zone. More importantly, we had an elderly customer with limited mobility waiting for her blood pressure medication. She couldn't walk to another pharmacy. That lane exists because every second counts in emergencies. One blocked lane can cost a life. It wasn't 15 minutes, Samantha muttered under her breath. Judge Caprio's head snapped toward her. Miss Blake, if you have something to say it clearly to the court. I said it wasn't 15 minutes. Officer Morales documented your vehicle present at 11:17 and noted you exited the store at 11:19. Those are facts, not estimates. Mr. Kim, thank you for your statement. The judge picked up another document. This is a text message screenshot recovered during the stop with the defendant's verbal consent. Ms. Blake, can you identify this message? Samantha's jaw clenched. That's private. It was discoverable evidence. The message reads, "Got stopped. Dad will fix it. Don't worry." Sent at 11:27 a.m., 3 minutes after the citation was issued. You didn't ask for help, you predicted it. You assured someone not to worry because your father's intervention was guaranteed. That's not confidence in your innocence, Miss Blake. That's confidence in your father's ability to make problems disappear. Judge Caprio leaned forward, his expression serious but not unkind. I'm going to ask you 3 straightforward questions. I need clear yes or no answers. He paused, ensuring he had her full attention. Did you park in a clearly marked fire lane? Yes. Did you refuse to provide your identification to Officer Morales and instead display your father's police badge? I showed the badge to explain. That's not a no. Did you display your father's badge instead of providing your own identification? A beat of silence. Yes. Did you threaten Officer Morales by stating you would have him reassigned to school crossing duty, invoking your father's rank and authority? Samantha hesitated, the first crack in her composure showing. I made a comment in frustration. The comment was, I'll have you walking school crossings. Did you make that threat? 5 seconds passed, then 7, 10, 12 seconds of silence as the reality of accountability closed in. Yes. Judge Caprio sat back. 12 seconds. That's how long it took for borrowed authority to run out of power when confronted with truth. Miss Blake, I've observed something troubling in your testimony today, Judge Caprio continued. When discussing your actions, waving your father's badge, threatening an officer, you present as a 20-year-old adult, fully capable of wielding authority and making demands. But when confronted with responsibility for those actions, you suddenly become a child. It was only 2 minutes. I was frustrated. My dad will fix it. You want the power of adulthood when it benefits you, and the protection of childhood when it doesn't. He let that observation settle before asking, Which one are you today, Miss Blake? 20 or 12? 20, she said quietly. Then let's proceed accordingly. Here are my findings based on the evidence presented. Officer Morales' body camera footage, Mr. Kim's testimony, your own admissions, and the documented timeline of intervention attempts from your father's office. The evidence overwhelmingly establishes that you parked illegally in a fire lane, refused lawful orders, displayed law enforcement identification not issued to you, and verbally intimidated an officer by threatening his career. Judge Caprio paused, his next words carrying particular weight. Miss Blake, your father's position as police captain doesn't grant you immunity from traffic law or any other law. His badge represents an oath he took to serve and protect this community. It doesn't belong to you, and it cannot be used to excuse your conduct or intimidate officers doing their duty. The badge is a shield for service, not a sword for personal favors. The standard fines for these violations total $640, Judge Caprio announced. Illegal fire lane parking, $250. Refusing a lawful order, $150. Improper display of law enforcement identification, $140. Verbal intimidation of an officer, $100. Samantha exhaled sharply, clearly relieved the monetary penalty wasn't higher. However, the judge continued, I'm suspending $300 of that total, contingent on your complete and timely fulfillment of a restorative accountability plan. If you complete every requirement with integrity, that portion is waived. If you fail or half-heartedly comply, it's reinstated in full plus additional penalties. He outlined the requirements with precision. First, you will write personal apologies to Officer Jason Morales and Harold Kim. These must be in your own words, not drafted by your father's office or attorney. They must specifically acknowledge what you did wrong and what you learned. You will deliver them in person if both parties agree to meet you. If either declines, you'll mail them with confirmation of receipt. Second, you will complete 100 hours of community service with the Providence Police Community Relations Division. You'll work on public outreach, complaint intake, and community education initiatives. There will be no press coverage, no photo opportunities, no resume building. Just work. Third, you will deliver 2 presentations at local high schools on the topic of badge respect and authority. You'll explain what police badges represent, why family members have no right to use them, and the consequences of misusing law enforcement identification. Fourth, you will write and record a public service announcement titled, Badges Protect, They Don't Excuse. The script will be vetted by this court. You may not mention your father specifically. This is about principles, not family defense. Fifth, you will submit a 700-word written reflection addressing what you learned through this process. The title will be Borrowed Power versus Earned Respect. Judge Caprio's expression softened slightly, though his tone remained firm. Miss Blake, understand this. Mercy isn't a discount or a favor. It's a contract. If you fulfill these requirements with genuine effort, you'll learn what that badge actually represents. If you approach this as a box-checking exercise, you'll have failed both this court and yourself. But Judge Caprio wasn't finished. Additionally, I'm making formal recommendations to the Municipal Court Administration and the Providence Police Department. These recommendations will be part of the public record. He enumerated 5 policy reforms, establishing a weekly log of all ex parte contact attempts by command staff regarding cases, implementing a recusal requirement when command personnel contact court staff about family members, creating documented protection for officers who report intimidation based on command family connections, developing immediate tow protocols for fire lane violations regardless of vehicle ownership, and distributing badge ethics education modules to area schools. These reforms serve everyone, police, public, and families of law enforcement, Judge Caprio explained. They protect officers like Jason Morales from retaliation, ensure families like yours understand boundaries, and maintain public trust in both the police department and this court. That afternoon, Captain Robert Blake arrived at the courthouse, requesting a meeting with Judge Caprio. The court administrator informed the judge, who agreed to meet briefly, with a clerk present, and everything on record. Captain Blake, your daughter's case has been adjudicated. The ruling is public and final. Your Honor, with respect, I believe this matter could have been handled more discreetly. Department to department. Captain, this was never your case to manage. Your daughter has legal representation and her own voice. The proceedings are closed in public. Your authority as a police captain ends where judicial jurisdiction begins. There was a long pause before Captain Blake responded. I understand, Your Honor. I respect your position. Captain, I respect your service to this community, Judge Caprio said more gently. But your badge doesn't transfer to your daughter. She will complete her sentence. If she does so with integrity and genuine commitment, she'll learn what that badge actually represents, and why it's not hers to borrow. Over 4 months, Samantha completed every requirement of her accountability plan. Her first apology letter to Officer Morales was rejected. Too formal, clearly drafted by someone else. The second version was accepted. I tried to use my father's badge to avoid responsibility. That dishonored both him and his work. I'm deeply sorry. Officer Morales' response was brief but meaningful. Apology accepted. Respect is earned by how you behave when no one can help you. Her community service logs showed genuine progression. Early entries were perfunctory, but by week 8, supervisors noted she had helped coordinate a neighborhood watch meeting with skill and apparent investment. By week 12, she was leading sessions on community trust and asking thoughtful questions about how family connections affect officers' reputations. Her high school presentations reached 94 students across 2 schools. One teacher commented, she was honest about misusing her father's badge. The students respected that authenticity. The public service announcement required 2 drafts. The first was too defensive. The revision was approved. I waved my father's police badge like it was mine. It wasn't. Badges represent service and sacrifice. They don't belong to family members and can't excuse poor choices. Respect the badge by understanding what it truly means. Her written reflection included this passage. I thought my father's badge gave me permission to ignore rules. I didn't understand that every time I invoked his rank, I made his job harder. When I threatened Officer Morales' assignment, I weaponized authority I didn't earn. Power borrowed is power misused. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned through conduct. 4 months after her initial hearing, Samantha returned to court alone. No attorney, no father, no representative. Judge Caprio reviewed the submitted materials carefully. Miss Blake, I've read everything. Summarize what you learned. She stood, her posture different now, less defiant, more grounded. Your Honor, I learned that badges represent service, not status. When I waved my father's badge, I dishonored what it stands for. When I threatened Officer Morales, I tried to weaponize authority I never earned. When I expected my dad to fix everything, I treated accountability as optional. It's not. My father earned his badge through years of service. I can't borrow it to avoid consequences. What did you learn from working with community relations? That officers build trust through consistency, not connections. That when family members misuse badges, it damages that trust. That every time I invoked my father's rank, I made his job exponentially harder. And from Officer Morales specifically, that respect is earned by how you behave when no one can help you. He treated me fairly even after I threatened him. That's the integrity badges represent. Judge Caprio nodded, signing the dismissal form. The suspended $300 is waived. You still owe $340, payable in installments. Your community service is complete. This matter is closed. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the people who taught you what the badge really means. The policy reforms took effect citywide. The weekly ex parte influence log showed 2 contact attempts from command staff in the first quarter. Both documented, both handled per protocol, neither resulting in case influence. Officers reported increased confidence in handling cases involving command families. Fire lane violations began receiving immediate TOWs regardless of vehicle ownership, improving emergency response times by 14%. The badge ethics curriculum reached 31 schools, with 89% of students demonstrating improved understanding of law enforcement authority and its limitations. Judge Caprio received a handwritten note on plain paper with no police department letterhead. Your Honor, I wanted you to know I've continued volunteering with community relations, even though my sentence is complete. Last week, a resident thanked me for helping her file a complaint. She was nervous about dealing with police, but I listened and helped her feel heard. I thought about Officer Morales, who treated me fairly even after I threatened him. I'm grateful you didn't let my father's badge erase that lesson. Thank you for teaching me what badges really protect. Respectfully, Samantha Blake. Judge Caprio filed the note and wrote a single line in his bench book. She entered carrying a borrowed badge. She left carrying real accountability. On a quiet Friday afternoon, finishing his last case of the week, Judge Caprio thought about that Wednesday morning when a 20-year-old woman waved her father's badge and learned some things cannot be borrowed. He thought of her in the community relations office, answering phones, listening to residents, learning what service actually means. He thought of Officer Morales, who maintained his professionalism even under threat. He thought of those 12 seconds of silence before she finally admitted the truth. He wrote one final note for the case file. Badges protect downward, not upward. Then he turned off the light and locked the door. This is a dramatized account created for educational purposes about accountability, authority, and the justice system. It is not legal advice or factual reporting.